Good evening. Welcome back to Monday Night Moods. That's what this is. I know what I'm doing. Zoom had to update, and then so did OBS, and it all went slow. So, hi, welcome back, and welcome back to Monday Night Moods, where we're reading. What are we reading again? Purgatory. Purgatory by Dante Alighieri. Dante. Starting off well today. A little bit. We'll not get into that. Anyway, so yeah, hi, welcome. Hope you're all good. Hope you're all fine. Hope you're all enjoying life and everything is good. And you're not all drowning. It's very, very wet here. It's not Florida. Fingers crossed to all my friends in Florida that you stay safe over the next couple of days. But yeah, not really got much to say to start with. No long, boring intros, just me rambling. So we'll just jump straight into it. 6 more cantos from Dante Alighieri's Purgatory. Sit back, relax, grab yourself a drink. I've got a nice Mexican stout here, Minerva. Mexico does some really good stouts and porters. Really surprising. Anyway, sit back, grab yourself a drink, and enjoy the poetry. Canto 22. Now he had left the angel who had turned to the 6th circle, our ascending step, one gash from off my forehead raised, while they who wished, well, they shouldn't drink. Gonna start all of this again. Canto 22. Now he had left the angel who had turned to the 6th circle, our ascending step, one gash from off my forehead raised, while they, whose wishes tend to justice, shouted forth, "Blessed!" and ended with, "I thirst!" And I, more nimbly than along the other straight, so journeyed, so that, without the sense of toil, I followed upward the swift-footed shades, when Virgil thus began. Let its pure flame from virtue flow, and love can never fail to warm another's bosom, so the light shine manifestly forth. Hence, from that hour when monsters in the purliest of the deep came down from the spirit of Aquinum's hard, who, told of thine affection, my good will, hath been for thee of quality as strong as ever linked itself to one not seen. Therefore these stairs will now seem short to me. But tell me, and if too secure I lose the rein with a friend's license, as a friend forgive me, and speak now with as a friend. How chanced it covetous desire could find place in that bosom amidst such ample store of wisdom as thy zeal had treasured there? First, somewhat moved to laughter by his words, Satius replied, "Each syllable of thine is a dear pledge of love. Things oft appear that minister false matters to our doubts. When their true causes are removed from sight, thy question doth assure me thou believest I was on earth a covetous man, perhaps because thou foundest me in that circle placed. Now, then, I was too wide of avarice, and even for that access thousands of moons have waxed and waned upon my sufferings. And were it not that I with heedful care noted where thou exclaimed, as if in ire with human nature, why thou cursed thirst of gold, dost not with juster measure guide the appetite of mortals? I had met the fiercer encounter of voluble rock. Then was I aware that with too ample wing the hands may haste to lavishment and turn, as from my other evil. So from this impenitent, how many from their grace shall with shorn locks arise, who living, ay, and at life's last extreme of this offence, through ignorance do not repent? And now, and know the fault which lies direct from any sin, in level opposition, here with that wastes its green rankness on one common heap. Therefore, if I have been with those who wail their avarice to cleanse me, though reverse of their transgressions, such hath been my lot. to whom the sovereign of the pastoral song, while thou didst sing that cruel warfare waged by the twin sorrow of Jocasta's womb. From thy discourse with Clio there, it seems as faith had not been shine, without the which good deeds sufficed not. And if so, what sun rose on thee, or what candle pierced the dark, that thou didst after see the hoist the sail, and follow where the fisherman has led? He answering thus, be thee conducted first. I entered the Parnassian grots, and quaffed of the clear spring illumined first by thee, opened my eyes to God. Thou didst, as one who, journeying through the darkness, hears a light behind that profits not himself, but makes his followers wise, when thou exclaimest, lo, a renovated world, justice returned, times of primeval innocence restored, and a new race descended from above. Poet and Christian both to thee I owed, that thou mayest mark more clearly what I trace. My hand shall stretch forth to inform the lines with livelier colouring. Soon o'er all the world by messengers from heaven the true belief teemed now prolific, and that the world of thine accordant to the new instructors chimed, introduced by which agreement I was wont resort to them. Eating my beard. Yeah. Yeah. And soon their sanctity so won upon me, that a Dominican's rage pursuing them, I mixed my tears with theirs, and while on earth I'd stayed, still secured them, with most righteous customs made me scorn all sex beside. Before I led the Greeks in tuneful fiction to the streams of Thebes, I was baptized. Come on. Sorry about this. One of the problems of being old and having a beard, it molts into your mouth. Tasty. Now, where was I? But secretly, through fear, remained a Christian and conformed long time to pagan rites. 5 centuries and more, to for that lukewarmness was fain to peace round the fourth circle. Thou then, who hast raised the covering, which did hide such blessing from me, whilst much of this ancient ascent is yet to climb, say, if thou know where our old Terence bides, Caecilius, Plautus, Varro, if condemned they dwell, and in what province of the deep these, said my guide, with Perseus and myself and others many more, are with that Greek of mortals, the most cherished by the 9 in the first ward of darkness. There oft times we of that mount hold converse, on whose top for aye our nurses live. We had the bard of Pella and the Teian, Agatho, Simonides, and many a Grecian else, engarlanded with laurel. Of thine train Antigone is there, Delphile, Argia, and as sorrow as erst is main, and who showed Langia's wave, Deidamia, with her sisters there, and blind Tyseus, daughter and the bride sea-born of Peleus. Either poet now was silent, and no longer by thy ascent, or the steep walls obstructed round them cast inquiring eyes. 4 handmaids of the day had finished now their office, and the 5th was but a chariot beam directing still its balmy point aloof, when thus my guide, methinks it was well behooves us to the brink, bend the right shoulder, circuiting the mount, as we have ever used. So custom there was usher to the road, the which we choose less doubtful, as that worthy shade complied. They, on before we went, I sole pursued, listening their speech, that my thoughts conveyed mysterious lessons of sweet poesy. But soon they ceased, for midway on the road, a tree we found, with goodly fruitage hung and pleasant to the smell, and as a fur upward from bough to bough, less ample spread, so downward this less ample spread, that none, methinks, aloft may climb. Upon the side that closed our path, a liquid crystal fell from the steep rock, and through the sprays above streamed showering. With associate step the bards drew near the plant, and from amidst the leaves a voice was heard. Ye shall be carry of me, and after added, Mary took more thought for joy and honour of the nuptial feast than for herself, who answers now for you. The women of old Rome were satisfied with water for their beverage. Daniel fed on pulse and wisdom gained. The primal age was beautiful as gold, and hunger then made acorns tasteful. Thirst each rivulet run nectar. Honey and locusts were the food, whereon the Baptist in the wilderness fed, and that eminence of glory reached and greatness with the evangelist's records. Canto 23. On the green leaf mine eyes were fixed, like this, who throws away his days in idle chase of the diminutive, when thus I heard the more than father warn me. Son, our time asks thriftier using, linger not. Away! Thereafter my face and steps at once I turned toward the sages, by whose converse cheered I journeyed on, and felt no toil, and lo, a sound of weeping and a song. My lips, O Lord, and these so mingled, it gave birth to pleasure and to pain. O sire beloved, to say, what is this I hear? Thus I inquired. Spirits, said he, who as they go, perchance their debt of duty pay. As on the road the thoughtful pilgrims, overtaking some not known unto them, turn to them, and look, but stay not, thus approaching from behind with speedier motion, eyed as they passed a crowd of spirits, silent and devout. The eyes of each were dark and hollow, pale their visage, and so lean withal, the bones stood staring through the skin. I do not think thus dry and meagre Eristhon showed, when pinced by sharp set famine to the quick. Lo, to myself I mused, the race who lost Jerusalem, when Mary with dire beak preyed on her child. The sockets seemed as rings from which the gems were drops. Who reads the name of man upon his forehead, where the M had traced most plainly? Who would deem the scent of water and an apple could have proved powerful to generate such pining want, not knowing how it wrought? While now I stood wondering what thus could waste them, for the cause of their gaunt hollowness and scaly rind appeared not. Lo, a spirit turned his eyes in the deep sunken cell, and fastened them on me, then cried with vehemence aloud, What grace is this vouchsafed me? By his looks I never had recognized him, but the voice brought to my knowledge what his cheer concealed. Remembrance of his altered lineaments was kindled from that spark, and I agonized the visage of Phores. Ah, respect this wan and leprous withered skin. Thus he suppliant implored. This macerated flesh, speak to me truly as thyself. And who are these twain spirits that escort thee there? Be it not said thou scornest to talk with me? That face of thine, I answered him, which dread I once bewailed, disposes me not less for weeping, when I see it thus transformed. Say then, by heaven, what blasts ye thus? The whilst I wonder ask not speech from me, unapt is he to speak, whom others will employs. He thus, the water and tea plant we passed virtue possesses, by the eternal will infused, the which so pines me. Every spirit whose song bewails the gluttony indulged too grossly, here in hunger and in thirst is purified. The odour which the fruit and spray that showers upon the verdure breath inflames us with desire to feed and drink. nor once alone encompassing our route, we come to add fresh fuel to the pain. Pain, said I? Solace rather, for that will to the tree leads us, by which Christ was led to call Elias joyful when he paid our ransom from his vein. I, answering thus, for ease, from that day in which the world for better life thou changest, not 5 years have circled. In the power of sinning more were first concluded in thee, ere thou knewest that kindly grief which re-espouses us to God. How hither art thou come so soon? I thought to find thee lower, there where time is recompense for time. He straight replied, to drink up the sweet wormwood of affliction, I have been brought thus early by the tears streamed down my Nella's cheeks. Her prayers devout, her sighs have drawn me from the coast, where oft expectance lingers, and have set me free from the other circles. In the sight of God, so much the dearer is my widow prize, so whom I love so fondly, as she ranks more sincerely eminent of virtuous deeds. The tract most barbarous of Sardinia's isle hath dames more chaste and modester by far than that wherein I left her. O sweet brother, what wouldst thou have me say? A time to come stands full within my view, to which this hour shall not be counted of an ancient date, when from the pulpit shall loudly warned thou unblushing dames of Florence, lest their bare unkerchiefed bosoms to the common gaze. What savage woman hath the world e'er seen? What Saracens for whom there needed scourge of spiritual or other discipline, to force them walk with coverings on their limbs? But did they see the shameless ones that heaven wafts on swift wing toward them? While I speak, their mouths were oped for howling. They shall taste of barrow, unless for sight cheat me here, or ere the cheek of him be clothed with down, who is now rocked with lullaby asleep. Ah, now, my brother, hide thyself no more. Thou seest how not I alone, but all gaze where thou vilest the intercepted sun. Whence I replied, if thou recall to mind what we were once together, even yet remembrance of those days may grieve thee sore. That I forsook that life was due to him who there precedes me some few evenings past, when she was round, who shines with sister limp to his that glisters long yonder. And I showed the sun. 'Tis he who through profoundest night of he true dead has brought me, with his flesh as true that follows. From that gloom the aid of his sure comfort drew me on to climb, and climbing wind along this mountain steep, which rectifies in you whatever the world made crooked and deprived, I have his word, that he will bear me company as far as till I come where Beatrice dwells, but there must leave me. Virgil is that spirit who thus hath promised, and I pointed to him. The other is that shade for whom so late your realm, as he arose exulting, shook through every pendant cliff and rocky bound. Canto 24. A journey was not slackened by our talk, nor yet our talk by journeying. Still we spake and urged our travel stoutly, like a ship when the wind sits astern. The shadowy forms that seemed things dead and dead again drew in their deep delved orbs, rare wonder of me, perceiving I had life. And I my words continued and thus spake. He journeys up, perhaps more tardily than else he would, for others' sake. But tell me, if thou knowest where is Piccarda, tell me, if I see any mark among this multitude, who eye me thus. My sister, for she for whom twixt beautiful and good I cannot say which name was fitter, was even now her crown and triumphs in Olympus. Saying this, he added, Since spare diet hath so sworn our semblance out, it is lawful here to name each one. This, and his finger then raised, is Bornaguna. Bornaguna, he of Luca, and that face beyond him, pierced unto a leaner fierce fineness, that the rest had keeping of the church. He was of Tours, and purges by one absence away, while sinners eels and cups of muscadel. He showed me many others, one by one, and all, as they were named, seemed well content, for no dark gesture I discerned in any. I saw through hunger Ubaldino grind his teeth on emptiness, and Boniface, that waved the crozier over a numerous flock. I saw the Marquis, who had time a while to swill at folly with less drought, yet so was one ne'er sated. I, however, like him, that gazing Mr. Crowd singles out one, so singled him of Luca, for methought was none amongst them took such note of me. Somewhat I heard him whisper of Gentuca. The sound was indistinct, and murmured there, where justice that so strips them fixed her sting. Spirit, said I, it seems as thou wouldst fain speak with me. Let me hear thee. Mutual wish to converse prompts, which let us both indulge. He, answering, straight began. Woman is born, whose brow no wimple shades yet, that shall make my city please thee. Blame it as they may. Go then with this forewarning, if aught else fail, my whisper too implied, the event shall tell, but say, if of a truth I see the man, of that new lay the inventor which begins with ladies, yet that conned the law of love. To whom I thus, count of me but as one, who am the scribe of love, that, when he breathes, take up my pen, and, as he dictates, write. Brother, said he, the hindrance which once held the notary with Gutine and myself, short of that new and sweeter style I hear, is now disclosed. Woof, woof, woof. I see how ye your plumes stretch, and the inditer guise them, which no question ours did not. He that seeks a grace beyond sees not the distant parts, one style from another. And, as contented, here he held his peace. Like as a bird the winter near the Nile in squared regiment direct their course, then stretch themselves in file for speedier flight. Thus all the tribe of spirits as they turned their visage fast to death, nimble alike through leanness and desire, and as a man tired with the motion of a trotting steed slacks pace and stays behind his company, till his overbreathed lungs keep temperate time, even so, foresee, let that holy crew proceed, behind them lingering at my side and saying, when shall I again behold thee? How long my life may last, said I know not. This know, how soon soever I returned, my wish will before me have arrived, since then the place where I am set to live is day by day more scooped of all its good, and dismal ruin seems to threaten it. Go now, he cried. Lo, he whose guilt is most passes before my vision, dragged at heels of an infuriate beast, toward the vale where guilt hath no redemption on its speeds, each step increasing swiftness on the last, until a blow it strikes that leaveth him a coarse morsel vilely shattered. No long space those wheels have yet to roll, therewith his eyes looked up to the heavens. Ere thou shalt plainly see that which my words may not more plainly tell, I quit thee. Time is precious here. I lose too much, thus measuring my pace with shine. As from a troop of well-ranked chivalry, one knight, more enterprising than the rest, pricks forth at gallop, eager to display his prowess in the first encounter, proved so parted from he from us with lengthening strides, and left me on the way with those twain spirits, who were such mighty marshals of the world. When he beyond us had fled, excuse me, when he beyond us had so fled mine eyes, no nearer reached him than my thought his words the branches of another fruit, thick hung and blooming fresh, appeared even as our steps turned hither. Not far of it rose to view, beneath it were a multitude that raised their hands and shouted forth I know not what unto the boughs, like greedy and fond brats that beg, and answer none obtain from him of whom they beg, but more to draw them on. He at arm's length the object of their wish, above them holds aloft, and hides it not. At length, as undeceived they went their way, and we approached the tree, who vows and tears sue to in vain the mighty tree. Pass on, and come not near, stands higher up the wood whereof Eve tasted, and from it was taken this plant. Such sounds from mist that thickets came, whence I, with either bard, close to the side that rose, passed forth beyond. Remember, next we heard, those noblest creatures of the clouds, how they their twofold bosoms overgorged, opposed in fight to Theseus. Called to mind the Hebrews, how effeminate they stooped to ease their thirst, whence Gideon's ranks were thinned, and as he to Midian marched adown the hills. Thus, near one border crossing, still we heard the sins of gluttony, with woe awhile regurgioned. Then along the lonely path, once more at large, full 1,000 paces on we travelled, each contemplative and mute. Why pensive journey thus ye three alone? Thus suddenly a voice exclaimed, whereat I shook, as doth a scared and paltry beast, then raised my head to look from whence it came. Was ne'er in furnace, glass, or metal seen, so bright and glowing red as was the shape I now beheld. If ye desire to mount, he cried, here must ye turn, this way he goes, who goes in quest of peace. His countenance has dazzled me, and to my guides I faced backwards, like one who walks as sound directs. And when, to harbinger the dawn, springs up of freshened wing the air of May, and breathless of fragrance, all impregned with herb and flowers, even such a wind I felt upon my front, blow gently, and the moving of a wing perceived that moving shared ambrosial smell, and then a voice. Blessed are they whom grace doth so illume, that appetite in them exhaleth no inordinate desire, still hungering as the rule of temperance wills. Sorry if you can hear the dogs outside, my window's open. One thing I won't miss when I leave Mexico, dogs. Canto 25. It was an hour when he who climbs had need to walk uncrippled from the sun, had now to Taurus the meridian circle left, and to the Scorpion left the night, as one that makes no pause, but presses on his road, where'er betide him, if some urgent need impel. So entered we upon our way, one before other, for but singly none that steep and narrow scale admits to climb. Even as the young stork lifted up his wing, through wish to fly, yet ventures not to quit the nest, and drops it, so in me desire of questioning my guide arose, and fell, arriving even to the act that marks a man prepared for speech. Him all haste restrained not, but thus spake the sire beloved. Fear not to speed the shaft that on thy lip stands trembling for its flight. Encouraged thus, I straight began. How there can leanness come, where is no want of nourishment to feed? If thou, he answered, hast remembered thee, how Meleager with the wasting brand wasted alike, by equal fires consumed, This would not trouble thee, and hast thou thought how in the mirror your reflected form with mimic motion vibrates? What now seems hard had appeared no harder than the pulp of summer fruit mature, but that thy will in certainty may find its full repose. Lo, Statius here, on him I call and pray that he would now be healer of thy wound. If in thy presence I enfold him, the secret of heaven's vengeance let me plead, thine own injunction to encapsulate me. So Statius answered, and forthwith began, Attend my words, O son, and in thy mind receive them. So shall they be light to clear the doubt thou offerest blood and concocted well, which by the thirsty veins is never imbibed, and rest as food superfluous, to be taken from the replenished table. In the heart derives effectual virtue, that informs the several human limbs, as being that which passes through the veins itself to make them. Yet more concocted it descends where shame forbids to mention, and from thence distills in natural vessel on another's blood. Then each unite together, one disposed to endure, to act the other through meet fame of its recipient mould, that being reached its gins to work, coagulating first, then vivifies what its own substance caused to bear, with animation now imbued, the active virtue, differing from a plant, no further than that this is on the way, and at its limits that continues yet to operate, and that now it moves and feels at sea sponge clinging to the rock, and there assumes the organic powers its seeds conveyed. This is the period, son, at which the virtue that from generating heart proceeds is pliant and expansive, for each limb is in the heart by forgeful nature planed. How babe of animal becomes remains for thy considering. At this point, more wise than thou hast erred, making the soul disjoined from passive intellect, because he saw no organ for the latter's use assigned. Open thy bosom to the truth that becomes no soon as in the embryo to the brain. Articulation is complete, then turns the primal mover with a smile of joy on such great work of nature, and embreathes new spirit, replete with virtue. That what here active it finds to its own substance draws, and forms an individual soul that lives and feels and bends reflective on itself, and that thou less mayest marvel at the world. Mark the sun's heat, how that to wine doth change, mixed with the moisture filtered through the vine. When Lachesis hath spun the thread, the soul takes with her both the human and divine, memory, intelligence, and will, in act far keener than before, for other powers inactive all and mute, no pause allowed, in wondrous sort self-moving, to one strand of those where the departed roam, she falls. Here learns her destined path. Soon as the place receives her, round the plastic virtue beams, distinct as in the living limbs before. As the air, when saturate with showers, the casual beam reflecting, decks itself with many a hue, so here the ambient air weareth that form, which influence of the soul imprints on it, and like the flame, that where the fire moves, thither follows, so henceforth the new form of the spirit follows still. Hence hath its semblance and its shadow called, with each sense even to the sight endured. Hence speech is ours, hence laughter, tears and sighs, which thou mayest oft have witnessed on the mount, the obedient shadow fails not to present, whatever varying passion moves within us, and this the cause of what thou marvellest at. Now the last flexure of our way we reached, and to the right hand turning, other care awaits us. Here the rocky precipice hurls forth redundant flames, and from the rim a blast unblown. with forcible rebuff driven them back, sequestered from its bound. Behooved us, one by one, along the side that bordered on the void, to pass, and I feared on one hand the fire, on the other feared headlong to fall, when thus the instructor warned. Strict rein must in this place direct the eyes, a little swerving, and the way is lost. Then, from the bosom of burning mass, O God of mercy, heard I sung, and felt no less desire to turn. And when I saw spirits along the flame proceeding, I between their footsteps and mine own was fain to share by turns my view. At the hymn's close they shouted louder, I do not know a man. Then in a low voice again took up with strain which once more ended. To the wood, they cried, ran Dion and drave forth Callisto, strung with Cytherea's poison. Then returned unto their song. Then marry a pair extolled, who lived in virtue chastely, and the bands of wedded love. Nor from that task, I ween, surcease they, whensoever the scorching fire enclaps them. Of such skill appliance needs to medicine the wound that healeth last. Canto 26. While singly thus along the room we walked, the good master warned me, Look thou well, avail it that I caution thee. The sun now all the western clime irradiated changed, from azure tinct to white, and as I passed, my passing shadow made the umbered flame burn ruddier. At so strange a sight I marked, that many a spirit marvelled on his way. This bred occasion first to speak of me. He seems, said they, no insubstantial frame than to obtain what certainly they might, stretched towards me, careful not to overpass the burning pale. O thou, who followest the others, haply not more slow than they, but moved by reverence, answer me, who burn in thirst and fire, nor I alone, but those all thine answer do me thirst. Than doth Indian or Ethiop for the cooling stream. Tell us, how is it that thou makest thyself a wall against the sun, as thou not yet into the inextricable tolls of death hadst enter? Thus spake one, and I had straight declared me, if attention had not turned to new appearance. Meeting these, there came midway the burning path a crowd, on whom earnest gazing, from each part I view the shadows all pressed forward. Severally, each snatch a hasty kiss, and then away. Even so the eminence, mid their dusky troops, peer closely one at other, to spy out the mutual road perchance, and how they thrive. That friendly greeting parted, ere dispatch of the first onward step. From either tribe loud clamour rises. Those who newly come shout, Sodom and Gomorrah! These, the crow Pasiphae entered, that the beast she wooed might rush under her luxury. Then, as cranes that part towards the Riphean mountains fly, part towards the Libyc sands, these to avoid the ice, and those the sun, so hasteth off one crowd, advances the other, and resume their song, weeping, and their several shouts. Again drew near my side the very same who had erewhile besought me, and their looks marked eagerness to listen. I, who twice their will had noted, spake, O spirit secure, whenever the time may be. Car alarm. It's always something here. O spirit secure, whenever the time may be, of peaceful end. My limbs nor crude nor in mature old age, here I left yonder. Here they bear me, fed with blood and sinew strong, that I no more may live in blindness, hence I tend aloft. There is a dame on high, who wined for us this grace, but which my mortal through your realm I bear. But may your utmost wish soon meet such full fruition, that the orb of heaven, fullest of love, and of most ample space, receive you, as ye tell upon my page henceforth to stand recorded, who ye are, and what this multitude that at your backs have passed behind us. As one, mountain bred, rugged, and clownish, if some city walls he chanced to enter, round him stares agape, confounded and struck dumb, even such appeared each spirit. And when rid of that amaze, not long the inmate of our noble heart, he who before had questioned thus resumed. O blessed who, for death preparing, tasked experience of our limits, in thy bark their crime, who not with us proceed was that, for which, as he did triumph, Caesar heard the snout of Queen to taunt him. Hence their cry of Sodom, as they parted, to rebuke themselves and aid the burning by their shame. Our sinning was hermaphrodite, but we, because the law of humankind we broke, following like beasts our vile concupiscence, hence parting from them to our own disgrace, record the name of her by whom the beast in bestial fire was acted. Now our deeds thou knowest, and how we sinned. If thou by name wouldst happily know us, time permits not now to tell so much, nor can I of myself learn what thou wishest. Gwyncelli, I, who, having truly sorrowed ere my last, already cleansed me. With such pious joy as the two sons upon the mother gazed, from sad Lycurgus rescued, such my joy, save that I more repressed it. When I heard from his own lips the name of him pronounced, who was a father to me, and to those my betters, who had ever used the sweet and pleasant rhymes of love. So naught I heard, nor spake, but long time thoughtfully I went, gazing on him, and only for the fire approached not nearer when my eyes were fed. By looking on him with such solemn pledge of force's credence, I devoted me unto his service wholly. In reply he thus bespake, what from thee I hear is graved so deeply on my mind. The waves of Lethe shall not wash it off, nor make a whit less lively. But as now thy oath has sealed the truth, declare what cause impels that love, which both thy looks and speech bewie. Those dulcet lays, I answered, which as long as of our tongue the beauty does not fade, shall make us love the very ink that traced them. Brother, he cried, and pointed at a shade before him, there is one whose mother's speech doth owe to him a fairer ornament. He in love ditties and the tales of prose with rival stands, and lets the fools talk on, who think the songster of Limgos overtops him. Rumour and the popular voice, they look to more than truth, and so confirm opinion, ere by art or reason taught. Thus many of elder time cried up, Guiton, giving him the prize, till truth, by strength of numbers vanquished, if thou own so ample privilege, as to have gained free entrance to the cloister, whereof Christ is abbot, and of college, say to him, one paternoster for me, for as needs for dwellers in this world, where power to sin no longer tempts us. Haply to make way for one that followed next. When that was said, he vanished through fire, as through the wave a fish that glances diving to the deep. I, to the spirit he had shown me, drew a little onward, and besought his name, for which my heart, I said, kept gracious room. He frankly thus began, thy courtesy so wins on me, I have nor power nor will to hide me. I am Arnaud, and with songs sorely lamenting for my folly past, thorough this ford of fire I wade, and see the day I hope for smiling in my view. I pray ye by the worth that guides ye up unto the summit of the scale, in time remember ye my sufferings. With such words he disappeared in the refining flame. Yum. Canto 27. Now was the sun so stationed as when first his early radiance quivers on the height, where streamed his maker's blood, while Libra hangs above Hesperian Ebro, and Euphia's meridian flash on Ganges' yellow tide. So day was sinking when the angel of God appeared before us. Joy was in his mind, forth of the flame he stood upon the brink, and with a voice whose lively clearness far surpassed our human. Blessed are the pure in heart, he sang then near him as we came. Go yet not further, holy spirits, he cried, ere the fire pierce you. Enter in and list attentive to the song ye hear from thence. I, when I heard this saying, was as one laid in my grave, my hands together clasped and upward stretching. On the fire I looked, and busy fancy conjured up the forms erewhile beheld alive consumed in flames. The discoursing spirits turned with gentle looks toward me, and the mantuan spake. My son, here torment thou mayest feel, but canst not death remember thee? Remember thee, if I, safe even on the Angerion brought thee. Now I come more near to God. Wilt thou not trust me now? Of this be sure. Though in its womb that flame 1,000 years contained thee, from thy head no hair should perish. If thou doubt my truth, approach, and with thy hands thy vestures hem, stretch forth, and for thyself confirm belief. Lay now all fear, O lay all fear aside, turn hither, and come onward undismayed. I, still, though conscious, urged, no step advanced. When still he saw me fixed and obstinate, somewhat disturbed, he cried, Mark now, my son, from Beatrice thou art by this wall divided. As at Thisbe's name the eye of Pyramus was opened, when life ebbed fast from his veins, and took one parting glance, while Vermeil dyed the mulberry. Thus I turned to my sage guide, relenting, when I heard the name that springs forever in my breast. He shook his forehead, and how long, he said, linger we now? Then smiled as one would smile upon a child that eyes the fruit and yields. Into the fire before me then he walked, and Statius, who erewhile no little space had parted us, he prayed to come behind. I would have cast me into molten glass to cool me when I entered, so intense raised the conflagration mass. The sire beloved to comfort me, and as he proceeded still of Beatrice talked. Her eyes, saith he, even now I seem to view. From the other side a voice that sang did guide us, and the voice following with heedful ear we issued forth, there where the path led upward. Come, we heard, come, blessed to my father. Such the sounds that hailed us from within the light, which shone so radiant I could not endure the view. The sun, it added, haste and evening comes, dally not, ere the western sky is hung with blackness, strive ye for the pass. Our way upright within the rock arose, and faced such part of heaven, that from before my steps the beams were shrouded of the sinking sun. Not many stairs were overpassed, when now by fading of the shadow we perceived the sun behind us couched, and ere one face of darkness over its measureless expanse involved the horizon, and the night her lot held individual, each of us had made a stair his pallet. Not that will but power had failed us by the nature of that mount, forbidden further travel. As the goats that late have skipped and wantoned rapidly upon the craggy cliffs, ere they had taken their supper on the herd, now silent lie and remunerate beneath the umbraged brown, while noonday rages, and their goatherd leans upon his staff, and leaning watches them. And as the swain that lodges out all night, in quiet by his flock, lest beast of prey disperse them, even so all three abode, I as a goat, and as the shepherds they, close pent on either side by shelving rock. A little glimpse of sky was seen above, yet by that little I beheld the stars in magnitude and rustle shining forth, with more than wanton glory, as I lay gazing on them. And in that fit of musing, sleep overcame me. Sleep that bringeth oft tidings of future hap, about the hour, as I believe, when Venus from the east first lightened on the mountain, she whose orb seems always glowing with the fire of love. A lady young and beautiful, I dreamed, was passing over a lay, and as she came, methought I saw her ever and anon, bending to cull the flowers, and thus she sang. Know ye, whoever of my name would ask, that I am Leah, for my brow to weave a garland, these fair hands unwearied ply. To please me at the crystal mirror here I deck me, but my sister Rachel, she before her glass abides the livelong day, her radiant eyes beholding, charmed no less than I with this delightful task. Her joy in contemplation, as in labour mine. And now, as glimmering dawn appeared that breaks more welcome to the pilgrim still, as he sojourns less distant on his homeward way, darkness from all sides fled, and with it fled my slumber, whence I rose and saw my guide already arisen. That delicious fruit, which through so many a branch the zealous care of mortals roams in quest of, shall this day appease thy hunger. Such the words I heard from Virgil's lips, and never greeting heard so pleasant as the sound. Within me straight desire, so grew up desire to mount. Thenceforward at each step I felt the wings increasing for my flight. When we had run o'er all the ladder to its topmost round, as there we stood, on me the Mantuan fixed his eyes, and thus he spake. Both fires, my son, the temporal and eternal, thou hast seen, and art arrived, where to itself my ken no further reaches. I with skill and art thus far have drawn thee. Now thy pleasure take for guide. Thou hast overcome the steeper way, overcome the straighter. Lo, the sun, and that darts his beam upon thy forehead. Lo, the herb, the arboretum and flowers, which of itself the land pours forth profuse, till those bright eyes with gladness come, which weeping made me haste to secure thee. Thou mayest or seat thee down, or wander where thou wilt. Expect no more sanction of warning voice or sign from me, free of thy own a bright arbitrament, to choose discreet judicious, to distrust thy sense when henceforth error. I invest thee then with crown and mitre, sovereign over thyself. There we go. We shall finish that off next week. 6 more to go. It'll be shorter. What have we got? Yeah, a few pages shorter than this, so it should be shorter next week. But there you go. My battery's about on that one. I did quite well. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. One more for Purgatory, and then I'm going to do some Hermetic texts, I think. No, not Hermetic. Gnostic. Then maybe some Hermetic, and then maybe some philosophy. I don't know. I've got some things I want to read. We shall see what comes up. There's a new podcast episode where I talk about different forms of magic and why there's a K. Damn you, Alistair Crowley. It kind of makes sense. So go check that out. Drunken Storyteller podcast on all your good podcasting places. Links and everything for all of this kind of stuff will be in the show notes, as always. And I don't really have much else to say, other than I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. And goodbye, my friend.